Hello everyone, and thank you so much for joining me today in this video. I hope you can hear me okay. The wind is extremely strong. It was quite calm lower down, but as you gain height it picks up. Today I'm on my way up a hill off to my right here. Unfortunately this isn't the summit. I don't think I'm even probably a sixth of the way up yet, and it's been a very steep climb so far. The next bit looks a little bit less steep, but still there's a long way to go beyond the little ridge I can see here. But anyway, I want to talk in this video today about why I love landscape photography in the hills and mountains so much. And yeah, it really is a passion of mine. I absolutely love it. But as I say, this isn't the top. I need to keep going, and we'll talk a little bit more in just a while. I could just hear a jet passing by, but I can't see it. It's somewhere behind the clouds. So the climb so far has been really interesting. It's been quite challenging in places. There's a lot of sections where you're at the bottom, and just in front of you you can see this really steep incline, and you think once you reach the top you're potentially at the top of the hill. So you reach that point and then it levels out a little bit, and then another one faces you. So it's quite challenging. But off to my right here, I think I can potentially see the peak. Alternatively, I'll get there and it'll just be another plateau. But yeah, looking promising anyway. But that's one of the things that I absolutely love about being out in the hills and mountains. It's the sense of exploration. It's just looking around, seeing what you can find. Often you get a lot of peace and quiet. There can be no one for miles around. And you're really free just to walk around, look with your eyes and explore. It's interesting just from the point of view of being out, but as a landscape photographer, it's really interesting as well, because I'm always keeping my eyes open, looking for potential compositions. So the hiking and the exploration and the photography, they all work hand in hand. They all combine together to provide a really satisfying experience in so many different levels. But looking around here, there's some spectacular light at the moment, but it's all up in the sky. The sun's breaking through the clouds. Unfortunately, there is no real light hitting the land itself, but potentially something to keep an eye on and maybe shoot later in the day. There's a lot of cloud around. There are some breaks in the clouds, so I just keep my fingers crossed and we'll see what happens. So hopefully you can see behind me here, we've got some stunning light coming in from the right, and off to the left it's just incredibly bleak, dull. There's no interesting light on the land. It is potentially spreading to my left, so the left behind me may eventually get some light as I'm talking here. But this is the next reason that I love being up in the hills and mountains. You obviously need to take care, you need to know your own limitations, you need to wear appropriate gear, take plenty of layers with you, all that type of thing. I'm not going to discuss all of that in this video, but provided you're safe and you know your own limitations, coming out into the hills and mountains is absolutely fantastic for landscape photography. Regardless of the weather forecast, I find the conditions can be so incredibly changeable, and you get some amazing light like this that's going on behind me now. And for me, it's not always about the light. if you've got a good composition and you get stunning light, then that is fantastic. But I also love coming out in overcast, rainy, moody days into the hills and mountains. I quite like creating a composition which looks quite remote, and I often find that really suits moody, slightly overcast, dull, some potential rain. I think it really suits that conditions. But you can come out, spend a day in the hills and mountains and just get so many different types of conditions. This light is absolutely stunning behind me at the moment. Probably a little bit difficult to frame up a shot at the moment. There are some more detailed sections of the landscape I could concentrate on, so I'll have a quick look at that, maybe take a shot. But I always like to have a composition and complementary light, whatever that light may be. I don't just like to just photograph light itself unless the composition works. So I'll have a quick look, then I'm going to head on and see if this is actually the summit. So just look at this light off in the distance. It is absolutely incredible. It's just beautiful the way it's hitting the landscape. So what I'm doing is obviously concentrating on the area where the light is most effective in terms of creating a nice composition. And we've got this really nice, almost like an S curve or a Z shape, this line, this subtle valley of trees leading up through the center of the landscape here. So I've framed a composition with that running throughout the shot, and it's just a case of capturing it like it is now when the light is really nice. But I think it's quite effective. A nice composition, some beautiful light hitting the landscape, and a good example of what you can experience when you're up in the hills and mountains and the light comes out and graces the distant landscape. As you'll be able to tell, I've now reached the top and there are some really nice views all around me. I've got some quite nice light at the moment, but it's a while to go until sunset, so I've got time to have a look around and see what I think will make for an interesting photograph. I may take a shot from here somewhere, I may take something from a bit lower down. I'll need to have a look around and explore. But one of the other primary reasons that I love doing landscape photography in the hills and mountains is simply the sheer variety and types of photograph that they offer. So I've talked about changing light conditions, I've had some of that today. I've talked about shooting in moody weather. Also at different times of year things can look dramatically different. But what I like to do is come up with a different variety of lenses, and I've talked about this in a previous video. I'll put a link up in the corner if you haven't seen it. But I think more than any other location, it suits and offers photographs with so many different focal lengths, everything from ultra wide angle up to super telephoto. There's so many different shots on offer, so you can keep coming back, trying out different things, get a number of different shots in the way up or down, shots from the summit, a huge variety of different focal lengths, and just get some really different looking images from the same area on different visits. So that's something that I really like to do, and one of the other reasons that I love being up in places such as this. But for now I'm just going to take all of this in and start thinking about some photography. So as well as being physically challenging to walk in the hills and mountains, it can be challenging at times as well in terms of photography. As much as it can potentially offer in one hand, just in 10 minutes it can take it all away. So I'm having a bit of a, what you could call a photographer's nightmare at the moment. I see a lot of potential, or I have seen a lot of potential earlier, but now that haze has gotten even worse. So I saw potential in this direction, but the haze is just terrible at the moment. Off in this direction, the sky is too plain, it's lacking interest in clouds, and there's no real interesting compositions that I can see at the moment. Off in the direction behind me, we've got the least haze and the best light on the landscape, but there's no real interest for me photographically. Off in this direction, I saw a potential composition, and there was a little bit of light in the areas I would want it, but by the time I got set up it had gone, and there is some haze over there and the clouds have changed as well. So a bit of a photographer's nightmare, you could say, but that's part of the challenge and the enjoyment in mountain photography when you're up in the mountains and hills. So I'm going to keep my eye on this scene for just a moment more, a few minutes more. The light is trying to move across in that direction, but haze, that's the story of the moment, haze. There's just so much haze everywhere. So I've had a hot drink to warm me up, I've got the gloves on, it really is cold now, and I'm about 5 minutes from sunset. We can see some colour in the sky off in this direction, and indeed in the direction that I'm photographing. So I really feel that this was my last roll of the dice. I was almost going to head down because the haze sort of enclosed in, and it was just haze all around. But then in this direction, although it's still hazy way off in the distance, in the half mile or mile or so in this direction, it's lifted enough that I thought it was worth taking an image. So I've had a good look around, and I really feel I've done the best that I can with what I'm presented with at sunset on this day. So I'm taking in a small pool of water in front of me. I've got the cairn, and we've got an impressive peak over in this direction. Some of the haze is producing quite nice subtle layers, and we've got some nice colour in the sky as well. So I really feel that I've done the best that I can, and this image very much almost never existed today, because I would say about 20 minutes ago I was going to head down. The haze was just destructive, and it still is. It's ruined a lot of potential compositions, but haze is potentially the photographer's worst nightmare. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I really do hope that you've enjoyed it, and my love for mountain photography and photography in the hills continues even despite the haze. So thank you so much, and hopefully I'll see you in my next one.